Well, one of the things, and this is just kind of about life in general, but certainly for me with TPM, is that actual life is always a kind of a weird mix of planning and desperation, right? Where you have a plan, but you're also just scrambling and trying to come up with anything, and then the compression of time gets you to focus on the planning, right? And not the chaos or sort of desperation or kind of hunting around for some plan. The thing with Prime was I had thought about it for a while, but the various things that happened in 2011, 2012 made me think it was critical. And in a publication like ours, there's a thing about the calendar of a presidential election that it's a little hard to kind of get things done before that because everybody's sort of bearing down and blah 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 blah. But I really wanted to. I believe we launched it in October of 2012 is when it started. I knew we had to do it for all those reasons. The initial 150 grand that we picked up was very helpful, right? Because I was basically planning an organizational retrenchment going into 2013, and I needed to pull in as many resources as I could to make it work. But I really wanted to launch it because at a kind of a level of intuition, I knew it was critical for the future of the organization. And the reason we kind of jammed it into October of 2012 is that's when people are loving TPM the most, right? Right before right before an election, you're kind of primed to know that you couldn't survive without your TPM. And in January, you kind of letting your muscles detense and stuff like that. So it was part of that kind of larger 2011, 2012 thing, and a sort of a read of the evolution of the advertising industry, both in direct advertising and third-party advertising. But also having learned a lot about our dependency on industry trends in industries that we could only know so much about and had zero ability to affect. And that makes you very dependent. Um, and a knowledge that our relationship with our readers is one that is real, that is enduring. Advertisers couldn't care less if you go out of business, and really, you want that to be the case. You don't want a close relationship with advertisers. It should be arm's length. It's transactional. Your readers, if you're doing a good job, care greatly about whether you stay in business. So it was really part of trying to move in that direction and make our financial well-being dependent on things that we could be good at and have some control over. And I think you'll probably remember, Joe, I've said this a million times, that we should have a pretty good shot at being a good TPM. Right? I mean, that's something that, I mean, if we can't do it, we can't do it. But we shouldn't have a lot of excuses about that. We should be able to be a good TPM. And so if you are, significantly dependent on revenue from your readers, then everybody in the whole organization can kind of feel like, okay, the work I am doing, it's not that I do good work, I'm guaranteed I'm going to get a raise, the company's going to stay in business, all this kind of stuff, but it should have some relationship to it, right? And I think one of the things is that can be very demoralizing, for an owner, for an employee, just for an entire organization, is if the work you are doing, if the quality of work you are doing has nothing to do, like literally nothing to do, with the success of your organizational effort, with the continuation of your getting a paycheck, that breeds a great sense of helplessness, right? I mean, kind of like, we're doing great and Facebook changes the algorithm and we're all out of a job. That's a bad feeling. And it's more than just a bad feeling. It's a demoralizing feeling, right? It just, in any aspect of life, you want a sense of kind of like your exertions have some connection with the results. And that's the great thing about memberships for us. And like a lot of things, it's both total genius, which I take total responsibility for, but also just necessity, right? If we had been killing it with direct advertising and making tons of money, I probably would have thought that was fine. But being small enabled me to see a bit earlier than other players that was not going to be forever.